What's up, everybody, and welcome to the SBL Season 2 Draft Recap for Diancie United. And some of you might be like, whoa, wait, what? Season 2? You didn't even finish making all the round recaps for Season 1 of the SBL. Yes, I'm fully aware of this fact. And to be totally honest, it's been a very long time since we've seen one of those Season 1 round recaps. And to be honest, I really don't have the inspiration to do any more of them, so since Season 2 is pretty much in full gear now, that series is going to be discontinued. But what I'm going to do instead for Season 2 of the SBL is I'm actually going to get stuff done on time, for one. And since a couple other people are doing their own recaps and stuff, I figure, hey, why not do my own this time? It's going to be a little bit different from Season 1, but I think you guys will enjoy it anyway. And first off, let me go ahead and address this new logo you see right here. I think it's pretty nice. It was made by one of our new coaches, Yashu, who coaches the Synergy Stars, he has a pretty good team, I'll give him that, but we don't face him until round 5, so... Oh yeah, this isn't going to be every single team's draft recap, this is just going to be my recap, and we'll see how this goes. So first off, I'll show you the format for each mon that's going to be shown. It's going to look something a little bit like this. The little circles you see at the top is going to contain each of my mon's shuffle icons, and I'll have their little base stats on the side. But before we get to the mons that I actually drafted, I'll get to the first mon that I actually franchised. What franchising was in this particular instance was basically keeping a mon from my team last season and making sure nobody else could take it. And there was a rather obvious choice for me to franchise. It's my boy, my wall, my solid rock, Mega Mother Truckin' Aggron, who was actually voted as our defensive MVP for Season 1 of the SBL. Oh yeah, actually I forgot to address how the SBL Season 1 finished for those of you that didn't actually follow the spreadsheet. The regular season champion was Omega, who actually finished completely undefeated, a perfect 9-0. I don't remember his differential, but it was pretty good. And the other playoff qualifiers were myself, ACAT, Crimson, the latter two of which are not in the SBL Season 2, RIP. Arctis and Lux. And the playoff winner, the championship was between Arctis and Omega. Arctis actually defeated me on his way to the championship. That stupid special Mega Garchomp that I'm totally not salty about. Nah, he actually played pretty well in that battle. The winner was actually Arctis. So Arctis and his new team, the Carry Caracostas, will actually be entering the season as our defending champion. But enough about Season 1, let's go ahead and talk about my boy Mega Aggron here, which actually I'm just going to disregard what I just said and talk a little bit more about Season 1 as I take a drink real quick. It's Kool-Aid, don't worry. Anyways, Mega Aggron here. If we count the battle that was lost due to 15's disqualification, Aggron played all 11 battles for me last season. How many times did Mega Aggron die in total? 4. So yeah, that should be a rather obvious reason as to why I want my boy Mega Aggron back. Mega Aggron is, well, he's my wall. I didn't want anybody else to have Mega Aggron this season, and I knew I wanted them back after my battle against Iron in round 10 last season because Mega Aggron was just so valuable in so many ways. His bulk was a difference for me in some of the battles I had in Season 1. And that base 230 defense with the filter ability, yeah, my boy Mega Aggron's a turning to me. And I'm super excited to have him back. And my initial game plan for my drafting was to kind of draft around Mega Aggron to kind of utilize his strengths and his weaknesses. And I think I did an okay job of doing that. But the theme you'll notice with the rest of my team is that they are extremely versatile. And I'm going to try not to use the word versatile so much during this draft recap, but if I do, I apologize in advance. So let's go ahead and get to the first mon that I drafted. Our draft happened yesterday as of the recording of this video, which was Sunday, March 12th. And I think it went pretty well. Right, the first Pokemon I drafted. I wanted to start building my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and I wanted something that could hit like a truck and something I was somewhat familiar with. And the first Pokemon that I ended up drafting was the powerful Generation 4 Dragon that was Uber at one point, but is the King of OU now, or one of the Kings of OU, my boy, Garchomp. Now, fun fact, since the SBL, I've actually gotten a lot of experience outside the SBL and other leagues. Some examples being the NGBA and the IPL. And in the first team I was ever named a replacement of, which, me being a replacement coach, actually became a meme at one point. The first team I ever replaced had Garchomp on it, and Garchomp was the star of that team. He picked up the most kills on that team, and while I didn't finish with the best of records, I still really enjoyed using Garchomp. And so I figured, hey, why not put him on a team that's probably going to be better this time? And so we have Garchomp here, and I think he's gonna do pretty well. One thing he can do with Mega Aggron is kind of alleviate Aggron from having to run Stealth Rocks every game, because the the famous Tank Chomp set involves Stealth Rock on Garchomp, and I think Garchomp's a pretty good Stealth Rock setter. Plus, he has decent defensive utility, combining the rough skin with the Rocky Helmet for some very nice residual damage. And I've seen what Garchomp and Mega Aggron can do together. The Doctor on Poketubers, Poke-Aim MD, also known as Joey, had these two on his UCL Season 2 team, the Bronx Bertics, and together they did pretty well. Oh, and let's go back to Mega Aggron for a second. Let's take a look at his weaknesses real quick. He is weak to Fire, Ground, and Fighting. Garchomp resists Fire, so that's a pretty good start right there. So yeah, I think Garchomp's going to be pretty good for me. Now, the other two of those weaknesses, Fighting and Ground, are alleviated by my next draft pick. And actually, during the draft, I had the second to last pick, so fun stuff right there. I had what you would consider a pseudo wheel, which the wheel is when you make your two picks in a row because it's a serpentine format, or for the drafting. And some might think I grabbed this thing a little bit early, but I kind of wanted to just have it just in case it was sought after by some other coaches. And this completes my Dragon Fairy Steel Core, giving me my fairy in the form of Togekiss. Oh yes, Mr. Shenanigans himself outside of Jirachi. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore that real quick. Sorry if that bothers anyone. Okay, Togekiss. This thing is full of shenanigans in the form of Serene Grace, Thunder Wave, Air Slash. But I'm just going to make this disclaimer now, I am not going to run those every single time I bring Togekiss. I'm actually going to try to utilize its other qualities, like its 120 base special attack and its good 85, 95, 115 defenses. Another fun thing about Togekiss is it gives me a hazard removing option in Defog, it gives me a clerical option in Heal Bell, and it gives me a baton passing option to go along with it being able to learn Nasty Plot, or maybe even some other shenanigans with Serene Grace Ancient Power, heyo. And like I said, Aggron's weaknesses of Ground and Fighting are completely alleviated by Togekiss, as Togekiss Uber resists Fighting and is completely immune to Ground outside of 1,000 Arrows, but 50% Zygarde wasn't drafted at all, and Zygarde 10% was drafted by the aforementioned Synergy Stars. And I think he's looking to get rid of it, but whatever. That's not my business. Yeah, I think Togekiss is going to pair well with these two, and I've actually seen Togekiss and Garchomp together on another team, that being Sceptile MC's San Francisco Arcaniners in the GBA this current season, as he has both Garchomp and Togekiss on that team, as well as my next pick, which I'll get to in just a moment. Actually, I'll go ahead and get to it now. Coming up on round 3, somehow this thing was still on the board, and I was like, okay, this thing is really good. So I figure, hey, why not draft this thing? The mon I'm talking about is Mr. Unstable himself, Mew. Now, this little Mew right here. Part of me drafted this thing because of the horrors it brought to me last season whenever I faced Omega. That darn Scarf Mew still kind of haunts my nightmares sometimes. And no more will this Mew cause nightmares to me, because now I have it in my possession. I can be the one causing nightmares for other people. And I said that my team was versatile at the beginning of this. Mew is the definition of versatile itself, because Mew has access to every single TM and tutor move that has ever been available. Plus, it has its own variety of interesting moves in the form of its Learn set, with stuff like, like Aura Sphere, or a Baton Pass, or even Transform if I feel like going that route. Yes, Mew can transform. I think it's the only thing that can outside of Ditto. So, Mew has that going for it. Yeah, like I said, Mew is Mr. Unstable himself, and I think he's gonna be really good on this team. Like, and he also frees up. He could also free up any other member on my team too, because Mew gets access to Stealth Rocks. That means I don't have to run it on Aggron or Garchomp every game. And he also has access to Defog, meaning I don't have to have Defog on Togekiss every single time I want to remove hazards. And in Mew's case, looking at all of its base stats at 100, that means I could run it physically offensively, special offensively, I can run it speedy, I can run it bulky, I can run it really however my team needs it at that time. So, Mr. Versatile, welcome to Diancie United. And actually the rest of you guys too, welcome to Diancie United. All the rest of my team. Okay, rolling on to round 4, my pseudo wheel pick here. Figured I'd go ahead and get my fire type out of the way, seeing as I'm burned. So I drafted a fire type I've seen put in a lot of work in the little bit of time I've been in draft format. I picked up the fire doggo himself, Arcanine. My boy RK9. Yeah, looking at Arcanine's stats, pretty balanced around the board. Good offenses, decent speed, decent defenses. And 2 pretty good abilities in the form of Intimidate, which lowers the foe's attack upon Arcanine switching in, and Flash Fire, which absorbs fire attacks and makes Arcanine's fire attack stronger. So that could be another useful mon for Mega Aggron in case my opponent has a really threatening fire type on his or her team. Yes, I say her because Lux is returning as well. But yeah, Arcanine. He's a pretty good mon. He has a lot of good offensive options like Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, Close Combat, Wild Charge, Crunch, Bulldoze in those niche battles. He also has decent defensive options like Will-O-Wisp and Morning Sun. And I plan to have Arcanine do some pretty interesting things this season, and I think he's going to be a very good fit for the team. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to my 5th round pick. A Pokemon I've seen paired with Arcanine put on one friend of mine's team. A friend of mine that's in basically every other league I've been in but the SBL. Yeah, this Pokemon has been a bane every time I face it, so I figured, hey, why not have that bane for myself? The Pokemon I'm talking about here is Vaporeon. Yep, the first thing you notice about Vaporeon is that HP, that base 130 HP. It makes Vaporeon very difficult to take down, and I think that's going to be a valuable asset on my team this season. Now, another fun thing about Vaporeon, and I think some people kind of underestimate its offensive capabilities because most people just use it defensively with like Scald and, well, Scald for the burn. And then options like Wish, Protect, Heal Bell, Haze, Roar, or maybe Acid Armor in those certain situations. But that base 110 special attack can probably catch some people off guard because Vaporeon does get some interesting options along the lines of Hydro Pump, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, maybe even Synchro Noise if I feel like going that route. Probably not. And I can even run a Quick Attack Vaporeon if I want to, but that base 65 attack is pretty low. And also another thing about Vaporeon, it is a bulky water, and bulky waters are very valuable in League format. Like, I've used some of the best ones. I had Suicune briefly last season, which I shouldn't have gotten rid of it. I have used Melodic before. I had Blastoise last season. I didn't really like Blastoise that much, but it's still a decent Pokemon. Let's see, what else have I had? I have Tapu Fini in another league right now, and it's pretty good. Let's see, what else? I've had Jellicent before, and Jellicent's alright. And yeah, those bulky waters are very valuable in League format, and I'm glad to have a pretty good one that I've seen put in a lot of work. So yeah, Vaporeon, welcome. Alright, now the next thing is something I actually did draft into SBL Season 1, and it was a thing I traded away for Blastoise, and I kind of regretted getting rid of it after using Blastoise for a little bit, but seeing as it was available at round 6 here on my pseudo wheel, I figured, hey, why not welcome back Roserade. Yes, I drafted Roserade again, and this time I'm actually going to give it a decent chance on my team. Okay, I hear the church bells nearby going off, so if you hear that, I apologize. Yeah, Roserade is a really good Pokemon. It's one that I shouldn't have gotten rid of last season, but I did anyway. Roserade can provide some pretty good things. Being a grass type, a defensive grass type at that, well, especially defensive, it has access to interesting options like Leech Seed and Synthesis and Sleep Powder, all of which could benefit my team at one point or another. But Roserade also gets access to Aromatherapy and Natural Cure, which in reality makes Roserade an ideal status absorber if I need that. Mew could also be a status absorber with his Synchronize ability and being able to learn Heal Bell. But I think Roserade could do that job as well. Another thing Roserade provides is, well, for one, that poison typing, which absorbs toxic spikes. He also gets access to toxic spikes himself, as well as regular spikes. So if I ever feel like hazard stacking one week, Roserade can help me hazard stack. It's probably going to be my primary option to do so. And plus, Roserade's no slouch offensively either, as it could also have the Technician ability, which boosts the power of any move with 60 base power or lower. And Roserade gets some interesting options. It gets a lot of really good offensive moves, like you got your Giga Drain, Energy Ball, Leaf Storm, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, Extra Sensory, any hidden power it might need, and probably some other options that I'm not thinking of, but I think Roserade's going to be pretty good on this team. And plus, I at least need support for Mega Aggron, for Garchomp, for whoever needs it, anything that can't restore its own HP. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty valuable. So, Roserade, I'm sorry for trading you last season. You're going to get a fair shot this season, and you're going to be awesome. I know it. Alright, moving on to my 7th pick. As I take a drink real quick. Alright. The next thing I picked is something I drafted on the second ever team I had, which was in one of the leagues I mentioned before, the NGBA, its 3rd season. I picked this thing up, and it did pretty well for me. So I figured, hey, it kind of has a role on this team, so why not? Frostlass was my next pick. The dead Ice Queen thingy about her. I don't know how else to describe it. Frostlass has some really interesting niche options. Now, looking at its base stats, you wouldn't think much of it with base 70s across all of its defenses and 80 for both offenses. But Frostlass can provide some decent supporting options in the forms of Spikes, which gives me a second Spikes user in case I don't want to use Roserade for that all the time. It also gets stuff like Taunts, Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, Destiny Bond, which I've caught a lot of people off guard with before. Actually, no. I take that back. You don't catch people off guard with Destiny Bond Frostlass, it just kind of happens. And it can also have some decent offensive moves like Ice Beam or Icy Wind, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Water Pulse if I need it. It might get Psychic, don't quote me on that if I'm wrong. And it also has some decent physical options like Ice Fang, Ice Shard, or Crunch. And it could be physically offensive too if I really wanted it to be, it's just not as viable. And it also has access to the ability Cursed Body, which is one of my favorite abilities. Whenever an opponent attacks Frostlass, the Cursed Body has a 30% chance to activate, disabling the last move that the opponent used. And I think that's pretty useful if I need it. So yeah, Frostlass. Pokemon I have a little bit of experience with, and I think it's going to be pretty good for me. Alright. By the time my next pick rolled around, there were a few types of Pokemon I was still looking to get. I was still looking for an electric type, because electric types are valuable in League format. But we'll get to that later on. And another type I was looking to address is Fighting. So I went with Fighting for this pick, going into Tier 4, as I picked up a Rapid Spinner at that. So, getting Rapid Spin kind of alleviates Togekiss and Mew from having to be my defogger each game. I decided to go with the top head dancer himself, Hitmontop. Yep, Mr. Spinny himself, I guess. Hitmontop's kind of an interesting Pokemon. It has pretty good attack at base 95, good defenses except for the HP, and For some reason, all the Hitmons seem to have 110 base special defense. Like, why do they have all that special defense? Kind of seems unnecessary for at least Hitmonlee and I guess Hitmonchan. Kind of makes sense on Hitmontop though, because it's a more defensive Pokemon. And Hitmontop is another Pokemon with multiple great abilities. Like Roserade, he also gets access to Technician, and Hitmontop has a lot of good options with Technician, such as Mach Punch, Bullet Punch, Rapid Spin if you really want to have a little more powerful Rapid Spin, but let's be real, no one would do that. Pursuits, probably a couple other moves. And then, like Arcanine, it also has Intimidate. So I have a nice little Intimidate core if I ever want to shut down a large amount of physical attackers. And then Hitmontop also has some other good options like Close Combat or Low Kick. I personally prefer Low Kick, but Close Combat is more consistent power. It gets access to stuff like Toxic, even Foresight if I wanted to attempt a Rapid Spin on a Ghost, which doesn't seem all that fun. It also gets access to Sucker Punch, and like Earthquake, and probably a lot of other good moves too, and I think Hitmontop's going to put in some work for me. And in Generations 2 through 5, we just saw Hitmontop like he is on the screen here, kind of just spinning around on his top head. But in Generation 6 and 7, his sprite is just kind of doing a little two-step dancing, so we have a spinner and a dancer. I mean, I don't know if Hitmontop has access to Swords Dance, I'll have to look that up later. But yeah, I think Hitmontop's going to provide a really good option for my team this season. Alright, 2 more picks left, and they're my Tier 5 picks. The first one of which is my 9th overall pick, I kind of picked it purely for shenanigans, not gonna lie. And I'll go ahead and show what that Pokemon is so you see what I'm talking about. It is none other than Liepard. Yes, as the second fastest Pokemon on my team, it provides a decent speed option. And Liepard here is such a troll. Liepard is such a troll. Because of its access to the ability Prankster, which if you don't know what Prankster does, Prankster makes it so any move that is not offensive goes first in a turn. It has increased speed priority. And Liepard has a lot of options it can abuse with that. It has access to Thunder Wave, Taunt, Encore, what other moves does it have? I can run a Copycat set if I need to, like Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, Copycat, so I get priority Dark Pulses for some point shenanigans, maybe. I might not do that, though. I try to be a nicer person than that. And Liepard also has access to some fun options like U-Turn, which, at this point, I think my only other Volt Turn option was Mew, so... And I really like Volt Turn as an option, so Liepard gives me that, and honestly, I have used Liepard before in League format, and it is actually really good at gaining momentum. You have your... Because like I said, you could taunt an opponent on turn 1 that wants to leave with like Stealth Rocks or whatever, then you could Encore them into those Stealth Rocks, and then as they switch out, you could U-turn out and into something else to get a better matchup on whatever they switch in, so yeah, Liepard is really good for gaining momentum, and I hope it can put in that work for me this season. Yeah, that's Liepard though. It also gives me that Dark type too, so it itself is immune to other Prankster moves since Gen 7, so that could potentially be useful. I mean, yes, Liepard is extremely frail. It's the frailest Pokemon on my team, but Liepard is not meant to take hits. It is meant to just be a pain in the butt, and yeah, that's really all it's meant to be, is a pain in the butt. Kind of like my last pick here, which... It's another bulky water type, I'll give you that, which may be a little bit redundant with Vaporeon, but this final Pokemon, has some interesting options to it, and it gives me that electric type that I wanted to. It's rather obvious what it is by now, as there's only a couple water electric options in the game, and I'm probably not ever going to draft Rotom Wash unless I see a need for it. The Pokemon I am talking about for this one is Lantern. Yes, I know I have 2 bulky water types with extremely high base HP. They have the highest HP on my team. But I think Lantern can provide some interesting options. It's an electric type, so it gets access to Volt Switch, which is... In Lantern's case, it could be a slow Volt Turner, which can be pretty valuable. It also has access to Water Absorb, like his fellow water type on my team, Vaporeon, but his more valuable ability, in my opinion, is that Volt Absorb, which I actually have only a couple of Pokemon weak to electric in the forms of Vaporeon and Togekiss. So Lancer can form a pretty interesting core with those two. I mean, yeah, he has his ground and grass weaknesses, but I have ground covered with Togekiss and Roserade, and now I have grass covered again with Roserade and with Arcanine and Aggron, and also Togekiss. So yeah, I guess Togekiss, Roserade, and Lantern, they provide a pretty good core for each other. And like Togekiss, Mew, and Vaporeon, Lantern also has access to Heal Bell. So that could be pretty useful for, you know, clerical purposes. Clerics are good to have around, and I have 4 of them. No, 5 of them, excuse me. Almost forgot about Roserade. Sorry, Rose. And so, yeah. That is my team for the SBL Season 2. It's a little bit bulkier than I'm used to drafting, but I've noticed I actually do pretty well with balanced offense. And I think I balance my offense and my defense pretty well. Like, I know when my boy Zappe made his total draft recap video, the word he used to describe my team was disgusting, and I've seen worse bulk teams. Like, my bulk is Aggron, Vaporeon, Lantern, and to an extent Togekiss, Mew, Roserade, and Hitmontop. Okay, granted that's most of my team. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun season, and I hope you guys look forward to what I have in store for this season. Our first match will be sometime this week, and it's actually going to be against my cousin, Rock, who changed his team name from Lifer City to the Jacksonville Jirachis. So I'll have a team builder and the battle recap together. That's how I'm going to do my my battle recaps. So I'm going to have the team builder first in the video, then I'll have the replay of the battle, and I'll talk about my thought process for those, like what was going through my head as the battles happened. And maybe 1 or 2 times I might even do a live con if I'm up for it. So we'll just see how that goes, and yeah, get hyped for SBL Season 2. I will see you guys for the first battle. Later.